live on air. And I tell you what, here we go. We're ready to rock and roll. We're going to have a fantastic show tonight for you guys. I really do appreciate you guys being here. I've been talking to my friends on TikTok. I usually sign on around 10 minutes till or so, and just to chat with my friends on TikTok for a little bit behind the scenes, and then we start the show. So welcome. It's Friday. I don't know what your plans are, but do something good for yourself. I mean, really, do something good for yourself. And hello to all you guys. I appreciate you being here. And hi to TikTok, and hi to Spreaker, and hi to YouTube. Howdy, social media world. All right. Tonight, we have a pretty intense show, folks. I'm going to make this very, very clear, and I want everybody to be. This is going to be an intense first hour. Now, I have a special guest on, and the special guest, her name is Angie, and Angie is the daughter of the woman that I talk about, and I have talked about often, who suffered from severe sexual assault from an incubus. And so I worked the case, and it was pretty intense. Probably one of the most intense cases I've ever worked regarding an incubus. Now, there's a lot of people who don't know what an incubus is, and I told Angie that we'll be calling as soon as we could. So let me just tell you a little bit about an incubus, and then you can kind of get an understanding what we're talking about. So we're talking about, in Western belief, an incubus, or incubi for plural, is a demon in a male form, supposed to lie upon sleepers, especially women, in order to have intercourse with them. Now, how? That's very important to understand something. There is no physical intercourse. So understand this. It was believed to do this in order to spawn other incubi. That's the belief. And people would say, well, that's the Old Testament, the Nephilim, or some people they say Nephilim. Look, Nephilim means, in Greek, it means fierce warriors. So it does not mean giants, or it does not mean offspring of demons and humans. So that's a mistranslation. However, what this does, this demonic will attack an individual, and it's a manipulation of the muscles. Now, this has been around for a while. This is not something that just recently started. And we're going to talk a little bit about the history of the incubus, and all from the very beginning. And so a lot of people think this is just a recent creation of imagination, and it's not. Now, there's an incubus and succubus. So the incubus will attack women, and a succubus will attack men. But understand that, again, there is no physical act of sex. What it is, again, it's a manipulation of the muscles, and it does not start violent at first. And the person, unfortunately, does not immediately say, stop, no more, I want nothing to do with it, get out of here. And the problem is, once that occurs and it doesn't stop, and the person doesn't put an end to it, then you have what is known as an invitation. All right, so the demonic will then become very aggressive, and even to the point where it affects the person, the sleep pattern, everything. I mean, it's so aggressive. Now, this topic that we're going to be talking about, I do want everybody to know that please understand, this is not for children. So this show, we're going to try to be as I think, well, certainly as respectful as possible, but this particular topic in of itself is very, very serious and legitimate. And so we're going to do the best that we can. And for some people, it may be trigger issues. So I just want to give everybody a warning up front. What you're going to hear, the story from Angie, is a true story. It has been documented. And again, this is one of the cases that I worked. It was a difficult case for me because I grew to love June. and that was the woman who was being attacked. I grew to love her family. I mean, they are just amazing people. And so this case still is difficult for me because of the emotional impact. But I just want to get everybody to understand that, obviously this is very serious. And Angie, who's going to be talking, she's nervous because she's never talked about this before in public. So please understand this is her first time. But she wants to tell her mom's story because her mom wanted her story to be told so that other people know that they are not alone. Okay. So this is why we are doing this. So I'm going to call her right now, and we're going to get her on the phone, and we're obviously going to be live, and hopefully you'll learn a lot too. Okay. Her mom did pass away.
Hello, Bishop.
Well, hello there, Miss Angie. We are live on the air. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm good. And, Sunshine, I appreciate so much. I always call people that I admire and respect Sunshine. So hopefully that Miss Sunshine Angie, but I do appreciate you taking the time to chat with us about your mom's experience.
That's no problem. I think it's probably about time, don't you?
Yeah, and I've always known that when June always like you said, June always wanted her story to be told so that other people know that they're not alone.
Absolutely.
And I think it's admirable that that you're doing this, because I know that it's stressful for you because now you have to think about all the things that your mom went through, and so.
Yeah, it's like digging up old wounds. Watching somebody you love to that extent suffer so badly in all different ways. Yeah, sure, but I think it's what I know it's what she actually wanted.
All right. So for those of you who are just joining us, I'm talking to a friend. Her name is Angie, and her mom suffered a pretty terrible incubus. And so I think what I'm going to do is just give you the floor, and why don't you tell us, start us out, how it all started, and then how it got to me.
Sure. It would probably help to go into just a little bit about her as a person.
Sure.
I think that's probably where I'd really like to start. Mom was a very, very strong individual, as you well know. She was a single parent to 3 young girls. Lost one to suicide earlier on, and she had a lot of life that she had lived that was very, very difficult. She was raised without a father. I think that played a role in how determined she actually became, how strong of an individual. So she raised the girls, and we married, moved on out on our own, and she went and did her own thing. And she retired from work after 20-something years. She bought a little farmhouse out in West Tennessee, and it was a dump. Let me tell you what. It was a dump.
Wow, she did a lot of work.
Somebody had been storing lawnmower equipment in it. And I mean, it was, when I say dump, I mean dump.
Let me see if this works. Hold on one second. I'm gonna see if I can put the speaker on so it'll be a little bit better. Actually, I can't do that. No, never mind. I was going to do the speaker, but then it's going to feed back on that. So never mind. Okay, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
So she took this little house way, way out in the country, which is what she had always wanted to do, was move out to the country. And she took it, and little by little, her and my grandmother started cleaning it up, fixing it up as best they could. She's on a fixed income. My grandmother had little to no income, and my mother was taking care of my grandmother. So couple of years later, it's inhabitable. You know, they got through that, and then my grandmother became ill with cancer, and my mother took care of her through all of that, and so my grandmother eventually passed, and my mother's left there alone. She knew a little bit about the home. It wasn't a whole lot. She actually met the lady that grew up in that, one of the children that grew up in that home, and my mother just, I guess in passing, kind of, asked her, about her childhood and what it was like living there, and she said it was a very happy place. There was no deaths in the home that she was aware of, so that there were no warning signs. There was nothing she could tie anything to. And from there, I actually had a cousin to pass away. My grandmother had raised that cousin. When he passed away, the night he passed away, Mom heard a growl in the kitchen. She said that she had never even heard an animal growl so angry. It was just full of anger. Said she'd never heard that in that manner before, and it was in the kitchen. And if you remember correctly, there was a little kitchen table and chairs, a two-seater in the kitchen, and then in the kitchen there was an island.
Yes.
She said it was on the other side of the island. She knew exactly where it was coming from. A very horrible, loud growl, and she's sitting maybe 5 foot from it. I don't know if that's where all the problem actually started. But that was the very first experience in that house.
Okay.
It was an odd situation. He was very problematic. Lived most of his life in jail. But yeah, I don't know if it had anything to do with anything.
All right.
But yeah, I did find it odd.
And for those of you who are just joining us, I'm interviewing a friend of mine, and she's just kind of explaining the beginning stages of what her mom and really her family went through. And this is one of the cases that I worked. And so this is Angie, and she is, again, for those of you, if people come in and say, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Just please, if you're moderators, just kind of remind them that I'm interviewing someone whose mom went through hell. And really not only her mom, the whole family, because of what happened. So the relative passed away, and she began to hear these noises. And so then, can you walk us then to what happened as it progressed?
Well, she calls me one day, and she says, "Honey, there's something crawling around on my bed when I go to sleep. When I crawl into bed." I'm like, "Huh? What?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "It feels like a cat." She said, "It'll crawl around my legs, and it'll eventually go behind my knees and lay down. And then I don't feel it. I just feel the pressure of the weight from the whatever that is." And she said, that's basically how it started. And then from there it progressed. And the pounces on the bed started, and the pressure of the print, or I guess paw, she would tell me was harder on the bed. Then it became to where it was harder for her to move her legs because of it. And that's actually how it started. And then shortly after that, she reported that she was hearing voices like radio, like coming from a radio, an old antique like radio, voices coming out of the wall next to the bed where she slept. And this all happened in a very short amount of time, and she was just getting pretty disturbed by it. The cat, I don't think, too much bothered her, because we had seen things in the house we had moved from where I was raised. We had seen things in that house, so we knew things that, existed. Wasn't a big conversation in our home. We did have some validations during that time, because some of us was seeing the same exact things. But we didn't too much discuss it, and we moved on with our lives, Wasn't anything evil, wasn't anything dark, just things you didn't expect, But when Mom says that there's a cat walking around on her bed, and now her legs are kind of restrained, and now it's getting it seems to be more demanding, and she's hearing voices in a wall, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Now, this is coming from my mother, who is like I said, the strongest individual I've ever met in my life. And I didn't appreciate that until after she was gone. And I realized, the full extent of it. But my mother had never, ever in her entire life lied to me. She was not one for attention. She was very, very independent. She just lived a very simple life. She was a hunter. She was a fisherman. She loved outdoors. She absolutely loved the outdoors, and that's why she wanted out in the country. So when this woman, who I love dearly, tells me that this crazy stuff is going on her bed and in her walls, I didn't even question her. If she said it was true, it was true. But as her daughter, as a human being, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, could that even be possible? Could it? Anyway, it did progress from there. It just started getting worse. And my mother at the time would confide into my uncle, her brother, who is actually the one that reached out and started trying to find some help. And I don't know how you want to go down that route with it, but that was quite an experience in itself.
Yeah, because for those of you who don't know, I mean, obviously there's a lot of paranormal folks out there, and sometimes they do some things that really they shouldn't do, and they have no business being involved. So again, for those of you, because I'm being slammed by people sending me messages, folks, please, I'll say it again. I'm interviewing Angie, and her mom experienced a very serious incubus attack. And we're going to get to all the questions as far as, is she still alive? And did she, what happened? We're going to get to, I promise you, we're going to get to all these questions, and but we're just starting the show. Now, your mom, I'll never forget her. She was.
Hang on, Bishop. I got a dog that's about to go off the rail here.
I totally understand.
I'm trying to let her into the other room.
Totally understand.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's all right. Now, your mom she was a strong woman. She was the idea of her, being, this fragile, woe is me. I need someone to. Your mom was independent. She was a strong woman. Now, people say, well, do you think, there was a question, and it's a fair question. They said, do you think that because she lived on her own in the country by herself, do you think that she was just lonely and she just imagined this? I can answer it, heck no, but Angie?
Well, but it's a reasonable question, isn't it?
Sure.
It's a very reasonable question, because we're all human.
Mm-hmm.
We all have needs, but no, I can honestly say no. She wanted no part of a relationship. She had her belly full with all that, and that was a very bad situation in itself. But she had moved on from it, and she found her own happiness, and she was actually in her nirvana on this plane of existence, and she was happy, to see her grandkids when they'd come visit, or her children, and she spent a lot of time with my uncle, both of my uncles, and that was her thing. She was completely happy. She could walk outside the door and go to a neighbor's and go fishing. She quilted a lot, so she made a lot of quilts. That was her thing. As far as being lonely, that was not an issue.
Yeah. So let's talk about her brother, and let's talk about then how this progressed, and then what they did as far as reaching out to paranormal teams.
Well, the eldest brother, he started reaching out online, because at that time you didn't even see, the shows like The Haunting. That didn't come about really, I think, until after Mom was starting to go through it. There was no research to be had. She didn't do internet. There was no internet service that far out anyway. And so she didn't have that capability. I'm not sure she would have bothered even if she did, because she, didn't like technology much. So my uncle reached out for help online. He had a few people reach back to him, and I'll never forget, there was this one guy, the very first one that we talked to. I actually ended up talking to him as well, and he was very helpful. He was the one who kind of, I guess, cracked the eggshell for us, because, like I said, we were completely and utterly in the dark here. He warned me. I did not tell Mama. I did not tell Mom, because I didn't want to scare her into anything. But he warned me that it could possibly be, had a potential to be, an incubus situation from the things that I was telling him. And of course, I was dim. I didn't know what I was telling him. I was just telling him, what Mom was reporting to me. But he did tell me to beware, that it could be something along that line. So I kept that hush-hush to myself, and I just watched and listened. And sure enough, it evolved very soon after that into that. And it seemed to go in phases. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure, absolutely.
Looking back on it and hindsight and reminiscing on it, it did. It seemed to go into these odd phases. And I saw somebody in the chat just a few minutes ago ask if she could ever see anything. No, she never saw the first thing. She felt things. She felt the pressure of things. And she heard things. But she never, as far as I know, saw anything. Not that I recall.
No, she never reported that to me at all. She never reported. Actually, she definitely reported the oppression and feeling the oppression. Now, someone had mentioned on TikTok, and I just want to make this very clear. Please understand, guys, that Guys54 is saying that you're giving the devil too much credit for the spirit. Guys, and I don't know if he's referring to us, but you got to understand, this is a case that we worked. And this was a case that we have extensive evidence on. We know that this was not anything else but demonic. There's no question about this. That's number one, because we worked it. We were the ones there. We know what we captured. So it's not a matter of giving the credit. It's calling it out for what it is. And this is one of those cases that I think is important to educate the people on, because this is one of the legitimate cases of incubus that I've ever worked. And what your mom went through, Angie, was pure hell. Let's talk a little bit. We know she experienced, she told me, she described as bed walkers. And that's how she described them to me. So let's talk about the things that it would actually do to her. We don't have to go into great detail, but whatever you feel comfortable with as far as what it did and what she reported to you.
Well, it escalated. It started out slow. It started out medium. Come to find out it was medium, in hindsight. But it would sit on her chest. And, of course, the sleep paralysis thing was brought up. And, she known it wasn't an issue. From everything we researched on sleep paralysis and whatnot, it wasn't quite fitting the bill. So we knew that there was something extraordinary after a bit. And, of course, we had, my uncle had a couple of paranormal groups come out, which, how I feel about some of that. That they don't always have your best interest at heart. And she went through hell and high water trying to find somebody who actually wanted to help.
Yeah.
From their heart, because they truly wanted to help somebody that was in need. Well, that's not easily found in the paranormal world. And it actually wasn't until my uncle reached out to you that we found, somebody who had the hearts in the right place. And that was one thing we found very, very early on. I mean, she had even went to a priest in her local area, and it was with a Catholic church. And she confided into him what was going on, and he laughed at her, and he laughed in her face. He laughed directly at her face. And I'll never forget, she came home and she was crying. And let me tell you, my mother did not cry.
No, she was tough.
She did not cry. So when she's, crying, she's trying to tell me what happened. It's sick. It's sad. And then it just progressed from there with paranormal groups who came in for, the big adrenaline rush. And if it hadn't been for you, Bishop Long, and the group that you sit in at the time, I don't know what would have happened. But her situation did get worse. And it started sexually, molesting her.
Mm-hmm.
I know the belief system on all that, but she had another priest came into the house, and, St. Benedict,
mm-hmm.
I think it was. He had given her a St. Benedict when he came to visit. I think you may have contacted him and asked if he would visit her because you live so far away.
Yep.
And he did. He was a very nice guy. And she actually really liked him. But he gave her a St. Benedict, and she laid it on the table next to the door. And as she's standing there talking to this priest, suddenly the St. Benedict goes flying off of the secretary next to the door and hits the opposite wall and lands in the floor. And she said, "The look on that priest's face, you will not believe."
Yeah.
I mean, crazy stuff, But like I said, it progressed from there. Started sexually molesting her. At least that's how I refer to it.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, it was just so bad that she started taking the St. Benedict, pinning it to her panties with a safety pin, and woke up the next morning, and it had been ripped off of her panties, thrown off into the bed somewhere, and she had scratches and bruises between her legs.
No.
And it just progressed. It literally, and she would sit in a chair in the den watching TV while she quilted or whatever she did. Watch TV, and you'd notice, you just notice her shifting a lot, like from side to side to side. And I said, "Mama, are you okay?" And she always hesitated to say much because she's a very modest woman. Matter of fact, sex was never discussed in our home, never.
Yeah, it took a while for me to get even her trust in me before she finally confided into some really, really private. And even then, she wouldn't talk about it in front of anybody else. We went outside and we sat on her little swing, and because she was so, private about that and angry because it got so intrusive.
Yeah. And she started getting angry when it started molesting her.
Sure.
That's when she got angry. And then she found, too, that the anger was a negative
fed on that
trait. It's attracted to negativity. Come to find out, it's very true. It is very true. And so we would have to, talk through it, and I'd have to stay as positive as I could when she'd call me. And I lived 4.5 hours away, so it wasn't like I could just jump next door, But one night, I knew it was getting desperately bad. It's so bad that it was affecting her health.
Yeah.
When she, I just so happened, I thought, well, I'm going to jump in the car. It was a weekend. I'm going to go surprise my mother. And I'm sitting in traffic on a Friday afternoon in Nashville. She lives about an hour west of Nashville, right? And my husband calls calls me, and I mean, traffic's bad. I'm there for a long time, and my husband calls me while I'm sitting there, and he's upset. He said, "Honey, you might want to give your mom a call. I know you were going to surprise her, but I think you need to call her now." Okay. So I call her, and she's very, very upset to the extent I had never seen before. And this is like a 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. It's not quite dark. Not yet. Still daylight. Apparently, when she went to lay down, it started attacking her full force. And of course, by that point, I'm crying because I know she's struggling and she can barely breathe. She had COPD. And we had her checked out, on the COPD, the oxygen level, could she be conjuring these things or up due to lack of oxygen? We went through the whole shebang. It was none of that. And so I told her, I said, "Well, Mom, I'm in Nashville. I'm sitting in traffic. I will be there in about 30 minutes. Can you hang on for me until I get there? Please just hang on for me. I'll be there." And I'll never forget it, Bishop. She cried. She just cried out. She said, "You are?"
Oh.
"Yeah, Mama, I am, and I'm coming." So you had told me, your advice to me was the next time that it was causing major issues, to go in there with holy water you'd left me, and do I forget what you called it.
It's a blessing.
Where you go, yeah.
Or the epiphany of the doors.
No, you did the epiphany of the doors early. That was the first thing you did.
I also did the minor rite of exorcism.
3 of them.
Yeah.
But no, you gave me some holy water, and I went in, and I started. It was dark. I remember when I got to that. By the time I got to the house, it was dark. It was middle of winter, and the house was completely and utterly black.
And folks, there's no street light. There's no street lights in this area. So I mean, literally, when she says it's black, it is. I mean, it is country. Okay.
It's country.
Yeah.
So I opened the door to the house. The inside is completely and utterly black. I'm trying to find a light to get in. I finally find the light, and I grab that holy water out of my purse, and I just start slinging it in the corners. And if I remember correctly, it was in the Lord's name, Jesus Christ, I command you to return to where you came from. And I'm like mad.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to be mad, but I'm scared at the same time. It's
Sure.
dark.
Sure.
I haven't even made my way to my mother yet. So get that done really, really quick, and I go in there, to check on Mom, and there she is. She's laying in bed, and she's asleep. I check to see if she's breathing. She's breathing. I'm like, "Oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus." And I go into the other room, and I just sit down and, turn on the TV until she wakes up. So that was a pretty bad one.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the worst because of the toll it took on her mentally.
It's terrible what she went through. For those of you who are asking, again, the COPD, it's a chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. That's what it means. It's a group of diseases. It causes airflow blockage. Hence, that's why the oxygen was necessary and breathing problems. So that's what the COPD is. Now, keep in mind, I want to make this very clear for everybody because I understand there's skeptics. That's fair. But I will tell you this: we are the only team in the entire world. I want to make that very clear, in the entire world that actually has this attack on film. And I sent this picture I sent the video to Angie. June was not a big woman. She was a pretty small woman, and she slept on her side, and she would curl her feet up, and you can see the bed rise way up real high and then fall, and the bed sheets rise again and then fall, and do it again and again. And that was very intense. I mean, the things that we captured in that house, there's no question. There's no question, 1,000,000% that was demonic. I have no doubt in my mind. People are asking a fair question. I have my own theories on this.
Absolutely.
people are asking me, and I have my own theories, and I think we both share the same agreement into this as far as what do you believe, in your opinion? And I talked to your mom about this, and she definitely had her opinion. But what do you think caused this demonic infestation leading into an incubus?
Bishop, I don't know. I know what my mother believed.
Mm-hmm.
I can't validate or verify. I do know some details that make me question, absolutely. But my mother had a sixth sense about her. I wouldn't call her clairvoyant. I wouldn't call her psychic or anything like that. No. But she did have a really keen sense about her. But she thought that my uncle's wife at the time, who was Colombian,
yep,
and who would visit Colombia quite often, she suspected she was involved in, come to find out, Santeria. We had never heard the term before.
Yep, Santeria.
And, well, I had to research it, and, and then my uncles researched it, and I don't know, but the animosity that ended up being between my mother and her sister-in-law was pretty intense, and nobody knew where it came from. Nobody knew why. The lady wouldn't even talk to her. I call her a lady to keep from saying her name because I don't want to drag that into it, but it was hurtful towards my mother. She made some accusations at my mother that were just sickening. And it was all because she was jealous of the relationship that my mother shared with her own brother. They hunt together, they fish together. Her health was not great, so my uncle spent a great deal of time with her. And the only thing I can figure, and that Mom actually figured, was there was a lot of jealousy there.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. Come to find out, though, since Mom passed, which was 11 years ago or so.
Yeah, it's been a while.
There has been a lot of issues in that family, in the Colombian lady's family. And it was a very large family, like seven siblings. She had seven female siblings and two brothers. Come to find out, I don't know, several of them have been in an asylum. And there was reports of child molestation. There was, it just ended up being a horrible situation. And I'm not saying anything bad about her. But was my mother onto something with that? Well, she could have very well been. We know that there was a divorce. She divorced my uncle. And my uncle started experiencing things at his own home. He also experienced things at Mother's home. And it was basically when he provoked it. It had been attacking Mama. She called my uncle. And she never really volunteered a lot of information. You'd have to dig it out of her,
Yeah.
But my uncle and her were very close, and he had a way of talking to her. And he's an authoritarian, but yet he's not. You know what I'm saying? He just comes off as one. And so she told me I was attacking her. And he ended up showing up at the door, and he was pissed. And he ended up going into her bedroom and telling it that he was going to chase it into the gates of hell. That's what he told it. The next thing I know, he's been harassed. He was harassed on her couch in the den while she slept.
So we're talking about sexual harassment?
No.
Okay.
Not that he's ever told me.
When you say harassed, what happened with the harassment?
Well, this thing, and I know from experience because it's done the same to me, it will poke through the bed, through the mattress, through a couch, through the cushions.
Yep.
He said one time he woke up and he felt like it was an earthquake going off because the couch was shaking all to hell and back, and it progressed a little while after he provoked it. But it eventually calmed down, and I've not heard anything since that. That happened 3 or 4 times, I think, stuff like that. But with me, it was a little different. It liked playing mind games on me. I would be all the way at my home 4.5 hours away, and I would be talking to Mom on the phone, and something would slap me upside the back of the head.
Wow.
I mean, stupid stuff, right? But one night, that same Friday night that I went to stay with her, I remember, she had that bedroom built onto that little tiny farmhouse when she moved in.
Okay.
And when she had that bedroom built on, she had 2 queen-size beds put in there. One was for me and my husband, and the other one was for her. Or if she had to move out of it for my other sister and her husband, she had that option. So it was basically built for that purpose. So that night I crawled into bed, and I'm laying there, and I checked on her. She'd been very sick, and she's fine. She's doing okay. And I thought, okay, time to go to sleep. Well, something woke me up in the middle of the night. I had to go use the restroom. I hated having to go to the restroom in that house in the middle of the night. I kept the light on in the den, but it got to be quite bizarre in that house, and I didn't want to have to travel through it. And so when I kind of let my eyes adjust to the dark, and I look over at her bed, because, subconsciously, you're always checking on her at this point. And I knew it was getting to the point in her life I was going to have to move in. Her health was just declining too rapidly at that point. So when my eyes adjusted, I looked over, and I thought, well, I couldn't make out exactly what I was seeing happen on her bed. So when I got up, I walked over near her, and I looked down at the bed, and the covers of the bed are moving like the waves of an ocean, just erratically. There was no rhyme or reason to it. And you think, well, is it her legs? Is it her feet? Well, I knew that. I knew better than that, because she never moved when she was in bed. And, she's a little woman at that point, and her legs wouldn't move like that anyway. And I watched it, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And it just moved and swelled and fell and swelled and fell, and it just over and over. And I thought, you know what? I got to go use the restroom. It's not bothering her at the moment. I'm going to go, and I'll check on her when I get back. So I go to the restroom, and I'm not trying to get, personal. But, when you're sitting on the toilet, you're half asleep, and you're just waiting for things to happen. And I look at, I'm just for some reason staring at the sink in front of me, and all of a sudden, the water turns on, and a big stream of water is just going at down the sink. And I'm like, okay. So I get my business done, and I get up, and I'm thinking, subconsciously, I'm thinking, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And I thought, you know what? Enough of this shit already. I was mad at this point, because now I know it's really trying to screw around with my head. And so I get up, and I turn the faucet off, and I go back into the bedroom, and I walk over to Mom, and I look down on her, and that thing is, whatever it is still going hot and heavy on the bed. And Bishop, excuse me, but my first thought was, F you.
Yeah.
F you, F you. If she's not awake, you can't bother her. And I went back over and got in my bed, and I went to sleep. The next morning, I get up, Mom gets up right behind me, and we're having coffee at the kitchen table. And I was a little shook up over that.
Sure.
And I didn't know even whether I should tell her or not. I did not want to scare her any more than what life had been like for her to that point. And I guess I was kind of quiet. She knew something was on my mind. Moms always know. And she says, what's the matter? And so I told her. And she didn't know what to say. But it was almost in the same breath, validation for her. It was as though I saw it with my own eyes. I felt it, which I had been feeling it. Now remember, I didn't tell Mom a whole lot because I didn't want to scare her. But there had been a few situations, but this was validation to her that I had seen it.
Yeah.
And that was all she needed. That was all she needed, was somebody
To believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though I could sit there and say, I believe you till the cows come, it wouldn't matter. And she didn't want me seeing anything. But there's her validation. She's only human, right?
Yeah.
So it got pretty rough. And at one point, she said, I'll never forget, I asked her, because remember, we didn't talk about sex. And I asked her, I said, Mama, what does it feel like? And she looked at me and she cocked her head. And she was just very blunt about it. She says, it feels like a big penis with a horn or a hook on the end of it, pulling at my intestines and my uterus.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not expect that. And I didn't know what to say. Tears just welled up my eyes. I just didn't know what to say. I'd never heard anything like that. We didn't talk like that. And she had never lied to me, ever.
Yeah, and I want to make this clear to everybody. Again, this case is unbelievably well documented, and I stand firmly behind my, not belief, but I think, but because of the evidence that we've captured, there is no doubt that this was an incubus case. There's no doubt this was demonic, and there is no doubt this family went through hell and back. I mean, it was horrible what these folks experienced. And what I was always so, I was always amazed, and I don't know how strong your mom was through it. She was tired. She was angry and frustrated, but man, she was not going to be defeated. And that fire, I'll never forget when the first time I met, that fire in her belly that she had, boy, she was so ticked off. I mean, she was not, I know that she was frustrated, but her strength, and I really do believe that she borrowed the strength of the family to get through this too, because you guys were really, it was important for her to know that her family was, when I talked to her privately, it was very important for her to know that her family was sticking behind her and supporting her. That meant the world. Because I asked her outside so how are you doing that? How are you managing? How are you able to, would she tell me all the things she was talking to me when she finally felt comfortable with talking to me about this? How can you keep going? A lot of people would just crumble up and say, I give up. And how did you do it? And she said, because my family is behind me. And that meant so much to her, because she was so afraid that, you guys would just say, oh, Ma, it's your imagination. And that she'd be by herself. And I think also because she'd been burnt by so many paranormal groups. But her that was important for her. That was very, very important. And you guys stuck right behind her and supported her through that.
Well, I remember a conversation that you shared with her, and I think this might be a key, or at least it was a key in her particular situation. She asked, I think her question to you was, what does he want from me? And you told her it wants you to commit suicide. Ultimately, that's their purpose. Yeah. You're talking to a lady who lost a child to suicide.
That's
she
right.
Put a gun to her head. My mother was never the same after that. Yeah, she's strong, she's determined, but that broke her heart in two. My sister was 19 years old when she did it. And here's
you may not know this, because I don't know if she could. I'll tell you now, because she's passed and she's resting peacefully in heaven. The reason is I mentioned that to her is because of the private conversations that I had with her when no one else was around, and the idea of suicide was an issue she was struggling with.
No, I didn't know that. I didn't.
And she had talked several times, because I asked her, like I said, I asked her, how are you able to manage? How do you keep strong? How do you keep? And like I said, she said it was her family, because she said there were times that she just, it was so much for her that, she had that evil, kind of whispering to her, maybe it was something, to just give up. And so it was playing on that emotion. And I tell you, I don't know if you realize how much she borrowed from your energy. And I think that's one of the things that got her through.
Bishop, I don't know. I think it took an army.
Yeah.
I really
yeah.
do. It did take an army. And I remember several nights, bless your heart, you'd sit outside in the cold on the front porch and you would start praying.
Yeah.
And you'd start your process before you went in to deal with her situation. And I saw the toll that it was taken on you, and I could tell that you were struggling with it. Matter of fact, you pulled me outside a couple of times, and we discussed it. But nobody has the answers in that situation. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, that's right.
There are no experts. I don't care what they tell you. There are no experts in this.
Yeah.
And if they tell you they're an expert, they're a damn liar.
Well, I think this what people ask me about the case all the time, and I always tell them this was the case that really, for me, made me question whether or not I wanted to continue this ministry, because I was so frustrated because I grew to love your mom, and I was.
And she loved you back.
She was a sweet. I loved her. I mean. And I went to, and I've talked about this before, I went to my mentor and I told him, I said, listen, and I think I've said this before, I'm doing this, I'm doing the minor rite, I'm doing the epiphany of the doors, I'm blessing the grounds, I'm doing deliverances on her as well, I'm doing mass, I. And that's when he said, James, get off the cross, let Jesus have a try. He said, your problem is your ego. And that kind of bothered me. It's like, how dare you? But I understood what he was saying, because you get, all you're saying is I. So you're not doing anything. You're doing what you're supposed to do. And when this individual is delivered from this, it is in God's time, not yours. You're an instrument that God is utilizing at this moment. And you need to stop with the I. And you need to start focusing more on the prayer, the rite, what you're doing, and continuing it over and over. If it has to be repetitive, and she'll be delivered in God's time, not yours, because you're taking it too personal. Because this was one case in all the cases that I've done. This is one case where my emotions got involved, and that's where I think, for me, it took on a personal toll, and the demonic was even working on me and even questioning my vocations.
Yeah.
Because I was so angry. I was so frustrated with this thing.
It's reasonable, isn't it? I mean, modesty alone can carry you through a lot of things. You stand back and just look in. What would Jesus do means everything sometimes when you're looking at that kind of situation, or any situation. But something that was meant to destroy, I mean, literally wreak havoc on someone's life in every relationship that they shared with everyone. Because let me tell you, there were some tense times.
Yeah.
There were some very tense times. There was a lot of anger. There was, like I said, a lot of negativity. We didn't understand what we were going through. We didn't understand what she was going through. So I'd have some anger over it. I'd get angry that something we couldn't see could literally reach out and touch somebody you love and hurt them and rape them and abuse them and whisper crap in their ears. She said one night she was laying there trying to go to bed, and all she could hear was this in her ears, and couldn't sleep. So nobody had any answers, but there was lots of help.
Yeah.
There was some people with experience. So when I say there are no experts, there's not. Jesus Christ was an expert. But there are lots of people that do have good, decent hearts, that really want to help, that do have some experience in it. I remember the Booth brothers. You sent the Booth brothers out.
Yep.
Because Mom wanted her story told.
Yep.
I remember she kept saying over and over and over, but I don't know anybody who's ever been through anything like this before. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to turn to. I don't know who I can even talk to. If I just knew somebody that has been through it or talk to them, I could rationalize, blah, blah, blah. It went on and on and on.
Yeah.
So I know when you sent the Booth brothers out, they, came into the house. It almost tore, two of their very, very expensive cameras up.
Yep.
And Bill, what was Bill's? I don't remember Bill's last name. The one with the voice, but the very first computerized voice box.
Yep, that's right. And in her room, we put a crucifix there, and several times it said demon. Several times.
It said my name. It said her name. It said all kinds of mean stuff. And then they had to get him out because they were afraid it was going to tear up his computer.
That's right. And the very expensive. I mean, this was. It's been it was very, very well documented. What she experienced was terrible. Let me ask you this question. When you guys asked me when she had passed, you guys asked if I would preside at her funeral. Was that something that she had talked to you about prior, or was that something that the family just decided, together?
Mom had not mentioned it. But I did speak to my sister afterwards instead of using the funeral home preacher,
Yeah.
I told my sister, I said, well, Bishop Long said that he would be there till the very end. That's what he told Mom. Yep. I'm going to call him. And there you were. And I remember very vividly, you started a new job that same week.
Yep.
I think it was. Same day, maybe.
Dean of a college.
Yeah, you had just started the job, and here it is. I'm asking you to travel 3 hours to take care of her funeral for her. And you told me right off the bat, I'll be there.
Yep.
And you were. I got to tell you a side note that I've never told you before, is that the funeral home that she was at was a very old, well-established, hoity-toity kind of funeral home. It's where all my family's buried.
Okay.
But the funeral directors and the attendants, they asked me who was coming to do her funeral, and I told them, Bishop James Long. They just kind of, what? Bishop James Long. Now, who is that? I said, he's a Catholic bishop. Oh, okay. I did not know until later on, after they made this big, weird to-do, that bishops didn't typically perform funerals, right?
That's true.
You were the first that they had ever had in that funeral home, and they didn't know how to act.
That's why they kept, I wondered is this anti-Catholic establishment? Because they kept looking at me like this strange side eye. Like they didn't know how to respond to me when I was asking questions that explains that. Okay. I did not know that.
That's why. But I was ignorant. I had no idea. We're not Catholic, right?
Yeah.
And which was actually one of the problems all along in turning to the Catholic Church, is that we were not Catholic. We were Southern Baptist. And at least that's the way we were raised. So, but anyway, that worked out in the end. But it was a very funny reaction that I got.
Well, yeah, it was powerful. That was that was very powerful. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. Never forget her, never forget you guys. That was a big turning point even in my ministry. So, your mom made a huge impact on my life for the better. And I learned a whole lot about myself, humility, and yeah, she was a very special woman.
Well, Bishop, you left a huge impact on most of us too. You have to understand, you walked us through the darkness. You literally walked her through the darkness, literally hand in hand. You did. And you not only were, clergy to her, you were a friend. And sometimes that's the only thing you need is a friend to walk through it with you.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, me being her daughter, I had a special interest there. You didn't. You didn't come for the adrenaline rush. You didn't come, because you were paid to. We as a family never gave you a dime.
No.
You never asked for a dime. Now, did I pay for gas? My mother was broke. I had to. So did I pay for gas, for the paranormal group to come down? And did they fill your tank up? I hope they did, absolutely. But no. Never, ever have you ever asked? It was never even in the conversation. So people who in particularly are going through hell on earth with these types of situations, and I understand they are becoming a lot more prominent.
Yeah. They
have to know that if they do not have somebody who has their best interest at heart there, it's only going to hurt their situation as a whole.
Amen to that.
I can't make that any more clearer. Those paranormal groups that did come in, they created a bigger problem than what was there originally. Yep. We even had a paranormal group that ran out in the middle of the night. It literally ran out on her. Left town. Didn't even call her to tell her until they were like 2 hours away, already on the road. These people can be brutal to a 70-something-year-old woman.
That's terrible. She's resting peacefully with Christ now. She's up there with the angels, and she'll never, ever, never have to go through this again. And one day when we're, reunited with her, we'll have a great time and all get together and hopefully have a first row seat to Elvis concert. What do you say about that? I think that's a pretty good deal.
I'd love that. I know she would. But, I know for a fact, for an absolute fact, that the father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I've told you this before, he's not going to let somebody on this plane of existence suffer to that extent if he does not have a massive award for them in the afterlife, in heaven. And I'm convinced, nobody can ever convince me otherwise, that she is literally some sort of saint.
I agree.
For having suffered through that in heaven today.
I agree.
I know it with all my heart. And there was a conversation that took place between us right before she died. She asked me to crawl up on the bed with her. She, I guess, wanted to have that last conversation, And she looked me square in the eyes and she says, "You believe me, don't you, Angie?" Well, she knew I did, right? She's just, I guess, checking again. But I said, "Mama, I do." And she says, I said, "Mama, it was always really awkward sometimes to talk about because I didn't want to scare her all the time, And I didn't want to be paranoid either. But I asked her, I said, "Mama," I said, "is it here right now?" Because I had felt it crawl up on the bed in between us. And she nodded, yeah. And she said, "It's always here. It never goes away." And she says, "Why?" She says, "Do you feel it?" I said, "Yep." She says, "Where is it?" And I pointed, and she said, "Yep." And I said, "Mama," I said, and I told her what I just told you about, the God that I worship would not let you suffer like that if he didn't have much bigger plans in store for you. And I almost think that did bring her some peace right before she died. And a couple of nights later, I think she was gone. But it was there. until she left. She never fully, completely managed to get rid of it. The situation did calm down after that last exorcism, but she never managed to completely get rid of it. But I want to go back to one other thing. The suicide thing.
Yeah.
And I was going to address something about that earlier. I really wanted to make perfectly clear. I think that might have been what made her fight so hard. This woman who had lost her daughter to suicide is now being told that this thing, by the way, it multiplied, right? It was more than one in the end.
Yep.
Sorry, I left that out. But was trying to drive her to that same exact point.
Yes.
And I think that's what made her all the more damn determined to
I agree.
fight it.
I agree. And she was not happy. She was ticked off. Because when I explained to her how the demonic, and then she talked to me about some personal things that she was struggling with, and I kind of explained, well, this is what it's, it's obviously trying to attack you. Remember, because it attacks you on a psychological level, physical level, intellectual level, and it's preying on that weakness, on preying on that grief. And well, she got ticked. She was like, well, by God, I'm not. She was like, it's not gonna. That's it. I've had it. She was not putting up with it. No. But I think she is definitely, no question, a saint. This is what she endured. It's no question. No question.
Well, after seeing it on the bed that night, shocking. And thank you for sending me the video, because I told you I'd lost it on my hard drive on my other computer. But those things are nothing but negative energy. That's all they are. They're negative energy.
Pure evil.
Pure evil. And that video that you sent me, I don't know whether it's my computer, maybe it was the resolution that I'm using, but I could, I told you the other night on the phone that I had seen on that original video static. When the waves of the ocean on that bedspread, it was a velour a velour blanket. And when those waves would go up, you'd see static on that velour. And this was on the video. You really need to show that video. That video is shocking to me.
It is.
And it's very eerie because, excuse me, it's very eerie because in the background you can hear her oxygen machine pumping,
Yep.
Oh, it's a horrible sound. I still hear it to this very day. But, it is what it is. It kept her alive. She had to have it. But, wow, that video.
That's intense.
That's exactly what I saw that night. Exactly. And so when that paranormal group sent me that video, to me, it was explosive. Being so tied so closely to that situation, it was explosive.
Yeah, it's certainly validated. There's no question about that. None. Well, we are tied on. I want to thank you so much for your willingness to come on and chat with us a little bit. I really do appreciate you sharing your mom's story and your story. I know the bravery. I sincerely thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for wanting to get the word out.
Well, Angie, I love you bunches, and know that you always remain in my prayers. And if there's anything you ever need, you have my number, and all you have to do is call, and I'll be there.
I do happen to know that. Thank you so much, Bishop. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a beautiful day.
You do.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, everybody, there you go. Man, yeah, it's... that was rough. What she endured, what her family endured, what her mom endured was just terrible, truly terrible. But they fought. That's not the story does not end in defeat. The story ends that they were able to band together and fight this thing that tried to do everything in its power to steal the joy that they had in Christ, that they their faith, and all it made them mad. And it certainly made them mad, but it would make anybody mad. But they didn't give up. These are true survivors in the real sense of the word survivor. They really are. And I believe absolutely Angie is right. 1,000,000%. I think June, I think her mom was 100%. I think she is a saint. And she fought. She fought like heck. And she certainly never gave up. Never gave up. And I think that really says a lot about her and the family. They were just, I remember telling her mom all the time, just do not be its victim. Do not be its victim. And she was, by God, she was not going to let it, or make it her a permanent victim. She was going to fight, and she did. She did. So I really do appreciate Angie being willing to jump on and talk to us a little bit. It's important. I think it's very, very important for her to talk about that, because number one, it talks about, it gets the word out. Her mom, you want a real case, a real actual demonic case. Well, you got one right here. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I see so many, movies and television shows or whatever on all these cases. And there are so many holes in all these cases. I mean, this is what she endured. My God, it'll rival any demonic movie that's out there and surpass it. But she was tough. She was tough. And so I do appreciate, Angie is delightful. Paykel says on TikTok, she certainly is. She certainly is. And she has her fire. She has her mom's fire. I'll tell you that. She definitely, she has her mama's fire. Her mom was she was a tough cat. She was. Okay, yeah, and don't forget, of course, my good buddy, Andrea Perrin. For those of you who are on TikTok, Andrea Perrin is going to be on next on the kgradb.com. You can go there, of course, on Facebook as well. Andrea grew up in the terrible, what she endured. The Conjuring. But I've had her on the show as well, and Andrea has talked about her experiences, and she has a show on the, of course, the KGRADB, great broadcast network, and so she will be jumping on very soon, actually at 8:55. I want to remind everybody that, of course, at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do have night prayer, and you're invited to attend night prayer if you like. It's a simple. It's not on video, it's on audio, and it's Spreaker, Spreaker, Spreaker.com/show/night prayer. Simple as that. And you can go and participate in night prayer. It's a night prayer that I prayed when I was in the seminary. And so I did that. I loved it. And you're more than welcome to join us at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, Spreaker.com/show/night prayer. Also, don't forget, go to bishopjameslong.com. That is my website. You can go there and you can purchase. I do have the bracelets available. Again, these are the bracelets here. What's really cool, because it has four different faces you can choose from on these bracelets. They're leather bracelets. You can choose from Mary, for Jesus, Saint Michael, or of course Saint Benedict, who's the patron saint for exorcists. And so you can purchase yours, but you got to go to bishopjameslong.com, click on the store link. Okay, it is Compline, yes, Maddie, for night prayer. It's Compline. That's what we normally. Oh, that's the official term, but night prayer, and it's on Spotify as well. So anyway. Make sure we're not leaving yet. We still got some show time. So again, Angie, I want to thank you so very, very much for willingness to jump on and giving us your time and talking about your mom's story and your story. And I appreciate you so very much. Yeah, I do. Heidi saying, I do bless the items. You're not buying blessed items. You're buying items, and I bless it for free. So then you don't have to find clergy to bless them. And the reason is that I do that, again, for people who want to know, that's how I fund my ministry. Because as Angie said, I've never charged and never will, never, ever. I don't even mention it. I don't even talk about charging to go into people's homes because they're already dealing with enough. And the fact that if people charge, I have a problem with that. These people are already dealing with stress. Now you're going to throw, oh, well, you need to pay me, whatever it is. Well, they're already dealing with stress as it is. Now you're going to compound that stress by asking for money? No, that's just not right. It's just not right. So I've never, ever charged, never will. And that's how I fund this ministry, because I have an online store. That's the only way I can do it. I'm not Donald Trump. I don't have billions of dollars. I don't have my own plane. So, I mean, it costs a lot of money to head to another state. You have to rent a car. Then you have to get the hotel. You might have to stay 4 or 5 days. That's easy. $400 or $500 easy on a hotel. And then you got to get a rental car. You can easily, $1,500 goes very fast when you're on a case. So anyway, and I haven't won the lottery yet. So that's how I do it. And there we go. You can go to bishopjameslong.com, click on the store link, and you can purchase your items. Also, and you can go to bishopjameslong.com. You can scroll down and you can make a direct donation too. Now, I do help single moms. I've been doing this for about 15 years. So I help young single mothers who leave an abusive relationship and they need immediate assistance like electric or a deposit, for their rent. People say, why don't they go get help? That's the first answer. Why don't they just go get help? Why don't they just apply? Well, have you ever applied for assistance, Mr. Sunshine? I mean, no. If you go there and you apply for assistance, it takes time. You're not going to get assistance like right there. It doesn't work that way. And sometimes it might take even more than a month or 2 or 3. And you're on a waiting list. So for the people who immediately just, well, why don't they just go apply? Well, they do. God, I hate when people do that because they try to dismiss it. And well, they just apply for help. These people have they're leaving an abusive relationship, for God's sakes. And they're young. They're now single moms who are trying to get away from their abuser. So I've been doing that for 15 years. And I go to homeless camps. I pass out food, clothes, and tents and sleeping bags to the homeless community. And I've been doing that for a long time. I was a homeless shelter coordinator, actually, for some time. So anyway, 30 to 90 days, right? So you can go to bishopjameslong.com. Just scroll on down there and make whatever donation that you want. Or, of course, you can go to the store, or you can go click on the class link, and you can learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. I teach them all online, and you learn at your own pace. Okay, listen, I got some news before we still have plenty of time here. We've got ghost hunters. For those of you who love ghost hunters, and I've met these guys, and I actually like them very much. They're good folks. They're really, really good folks. It says here, join, and this is, by the way, for those of you who want to know it, this is from Higgy Pop Paranormal. It says here, join legendary TAPS team along with Sherry. I don't know Dave Benedetti, the last name, and the team from Destination Fear on an all-new supernatural hunt at the old Joliet prison in the premiere episode streaming on Discovery Plus New Year's Day. The series will also feature the rock legend Meatloaf, who joins the team on an investigation of an old haunting that is still scaring a local community in Tennessee. Now, the team returns to the paranormal show that started it all. Really, it truly does, when all the new Ghost Hunter series begins streaming on Discovery Plus on January 1st. Now, original members, Jason Hawes, whom I've met, Steve Gonsalves, he was great. Steve is great. And Dave Tango is wonderful. Along with Sherry, Dave Benedetti, I'm sorry, I don't know. Sorry, Sherry. Reunite to revisit their most chilling cases and investigate disturbing new hauntings. So there you go, folks. TAPS has been has signed on, and they're going to be doing their thing. And hopefully, if you're a big fan of TAPS and you want to check it out, I think that'd be very, very cool. So there you go. All right. By the way, folks, this is a very interesting article. Very interesting. Was it Andrea said? Andrea Perrin said the same thing, that the activity was stirred up and it never really went away. Yeah, that's right. That's true. Kelsey, why do you hear that in so many cases the paranormal investigations stir up more activity and don't help the people, and you cannot get rid of it completely? Kelsey, let me tell you why. And here's the God honest reason. There are a lot of paranormal. You know, when I went public in the with my ministry, do you realize that I was the only Catholic clergy that was helping the paranormal community publicly? I was it. I know, because I was there. And the only other person that was there was, a good buddy of mine, Andy Calder, who had passed away, but he belonged to a schismatic group of Episcopalians, and he was not called to serve in possession, in performing exorcisms. That was not his calling. He didn't want to do this. So Andy and I were good friends, but there was no Catholic clergy helping the paranormal community, none. And we communicated. When I belonged to the paranormal community, there was no MySpace, there was no YouTube, there was no Twitter or Facebook. I mean, we communicated through Yahoo groups. That's how we communicated. And it seems like, and even demonologies, people calling themselves a demonologist, there were very few people, very few calling themselves a demonologist. Of course, John Zaffis, who's a friend of mine, John has been around for a long, long time. But there are very few people who've actually said, yeah, I'm a demon. Now it seems like every single team, they're performing rituals they have no business performing. There are people who are watching television shows and they're going around performing minor rite of exorcisms, and they're causing activity to really amplify, just like Angie said, in these paranormal groups. People have got to stop that. You got to leave it alone. If you're not trained in demonology and you don't know what the heck you're doing, then leave it alone, because you're going to cause more problems for the family. See, just common sense to me. Why would you stir it up if you don't know what you're doing? Because now there's, and I'm not trying to be rude, but now we have a lot of people claiming to be psychics. And now all of a sudden, now they claim also somehow that they're exorcists. And they don't claim to be exorcists, but they're performing rituals that are reserved strictly for an exorcist. There's too many people playing demonologists. There are too many people who are doing rites they have no business performing because they don't know what they're doing. And that really is a problem. That is a major epidemic within the paranormal community. It is and it's also, I'm really getting frustrated with every time a team comes into a home, everything is demonic. Oh, it's demonic. Oh, there's a noise. That's a demon. Oh, shut up with that. Will you stop it? How do you know it's demonic? How long have you studied demonology? Do you even know Thomas Aquinas? Do you even know Malachi Maya? I could go, where did you study demonology, angelology? Where did you study this? And now all of a sudden they claim to be an expert in demonology. Are you kidding me? Everything now is a demon. Everything is a demon. That's a demon. So I had one team. Oh, it made me mad, made me furious, because you don't do this to people. But this was a mom, and she was a single mom. She had 2 kids, and there was activity occurring in her home, and she was terrified. And rightfully so. I understand, because she wasn't involved in the paranormal community, but it was some really scary stuff happening. A team goes into her home, number one, charges. So here's a single mom, now I have to give them $300. So they go into her home. Immediately, there's someone who claims to be a psychic, and I have friends who are psychic mediums. So I see a demon. There's a demon in here. Yeah, I feel it. And the mom's sitting here thinking, okay, this is not good, because this person comes across as an expert. There's a demon. I feel it. And the mom was like, well, you need to remove it. I don't want it in my kid. I don't want to hear to harm my kids. Help. Oh no, this demon wants to kill your children. Why in the Sam hell would you tell this was a single mom, this young single mother of 2 kids? Now she has a demon in her home, and now it wants to kill her kids. Well, what? Okay, wise ass. Now what is she going to do with that information? Now what is she going to do with that? How is she was terrified when she got, and the reason it makes me mad, because you don't do this to people. You do not do this to people. She was terrified when she called me because this person who, oh, I see a demon, there's a demon, was doing this stupid ritual that she has no business doing at all, actually caused the activity to become worse. And the mother, and well, it's too strong for me. Well, okay, wise guy, now think so. And then they left. They left. So here's this mom, single mom, terrified that this demon wants to kill her children, according to this psychic. And now the mother's on the phone with me, I mean, sobbing. And I had to spend 15 minutes just to calm her down. And I am the one who has to fix this problem. I tell you, it made me so mad, so mad. And it's because this person who has no experience in demonology, none. And by the way, for the record, this mom was not dealing with a demonic entity prior to this psychic coming in, because she explained everything that was going on. I said, well, it could be this, the bangings that you heard. And the landlord had to check the pipes. So it ended up that banging that the psychic demonologist said it was the demon, it was her pipes. So I debunked the bangings that was occurring in her wall. But now what happened is this psychic came in and started doing rites and invitations to this demonic. And then now she truly had a demonic infestation because of what this person did. It's infuriating. It really gets to me. And Tracy says, thank you for talking on this topic. The demon issue drives me nuts. It's true. And anybody who is involved in the paranormal, and if you've taken on cases, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you're probably thinking, amen, hallelujah, that is 100, because it is so true. It has become a problem that everybody immediately, oh, it's a demon. Okay, well, how do you know it's a demon? Where did you get your education in demonology and angelology? How do you know that it's a demon? I feel it. Okay. Shut up. You don't feel anything. The only thing you feel is your paycheck. That's the only thing the reason is I get aggravated by this. I have devoted my entire life to helping people and never, ever, never trying to cause harm to anyone. My motto, harm ye none. If you are going to go into a place and you're going to make things worse, then don't go in the first place, because the family's already dealing with enough and they don't need a jackass going in there playing exorcist or demonologist and now causing the problem to the families to have serious issues. This is real. And to amplify the activity, to cause the activity to become even worse. Now the family is left with your junk, or this person's junk that they have. I tell you, there's a special place in hell for people like that. And I don't care if you like it or not. I really, because it irritates me. You don't do that to people. And it bothers me. It's become a major problem in the paranormal. If you are not trained in demonology, then leave it the hell alone. Leave it alone. And do not go into a family's house who are legitimately terrified, and immediately the first thing comes out of your mouth, demon. Oh, it's a demon. I feel it. It's a demon. Oh, man, it just irritates me. It does. It's wrong. It is wrong. It's immoral. Yeah, I am worked up because imagine if it was your family. Imagine it was my family. I wouldn't want someone to do that to my family. I wouldn't want someone to do that to anybody's family. I don't know. What are you going to do? By the way, listen to this. Very, very important. Okay, Bishop, do you believe Zach Bagans, something, and company from Ghost Adventures are legit? Let me tell you something. I'm friends with Zach, and I've been on 3 episodes with Ghost Adventures. I will tell you a couple of things. One, they have never once asked me, never once did they ever tell me to fake anything, because if they did, I'd leave. And number 2, they've never told me, here's a script. Never. As a matter of fact, when I showed up at Bobby Mackey's, we did 2 investigations, and then the third, the minor rite of exorcism. They said, "Okay, Bishop," how? And Zach is the one who said this. How are we going to proceed? Now, this is Zach. He was the executive producer of Ghost Adventures. How do you want to proceed? How do you want to do that? Because Zach was not going to tell me how to do a minor rite of exorcism, and Zach respected the minor rite of exorcism and me being there. So he never once he said, "Okay, we're going to shoot this and we're going to shoot this for this segment, and then we want you to be surprised." It never ever. If that ever happened, I would tell us goodbye. If I ever did a show and someone told me to pretend for the camera, nope, I'm not pretending for nothing. Because that's a mockery. And someone was asking me, do I regret doing the television shows that I've done? No, I don't. And I'll tell you why. The Paranormal Clergy I started the Paranormal Clergy for the sole purpose of creating an organization that can help people for free. So because there was no organization at that time. There was nothing. People had paranormal groups, but I thought there's got to be an organization all around the United States of paranormal teams that we can have a network, so that if someone calls me from California or New York or wherever, I can call on that team and say, "Please go investigate," because there was nothing like that. And so that's why I started the Paranormal Clergy. The whole purpose, if someone says, "I'm in Texas," or "I'm in wherever, Wyoming," and we have a team there, they are dispatched, they investigate, they bring it to Rich Valdez, who's one of the demonologists for the church, and Rich gathers the information and tells me whether or not he thinks we should pursue it, the church. So that's why I started the Paranormal Clergy, an organization that helps people for free. That was the whole purpose of it, for free. Well, I couldn't pay for the advertisement. There's no way I couldn't go on television or on radio and say, "Hey, contact the Paranormal Clergy," because we don't make any money off of it. There's no income. So I don't have that type of resource to where I can just pay several $100,000. And I didn't have it. And why would I? Because obviously it's not a business, it's a ministry. So one of the biggest purposes for these shows, so that I can get the word out about the Paranormal Clergy, an organization that helps people for free. That's why I did the shows. And I've done a lot. I mean, yeah, I didn't the National Geographic and Travel, pretty much all the networks, but they released the information that I'm with the Paranormal Clergy, and I was on the show. So as a matter of fact, I'm going to be on the show. I'm going to be on a show. I can't talk about all the details, but December 12th, I'm flying out to Los Angeles because I'm filming for another television show. And so I'm going to be advertising for Paranormal Clergy for the United States Old Catholic Church, so that people know that we exist. And Rich Valdez now is the owner of the Paranormal Clergy. So there you go. Well, I don't know a Bishop Nolan, and when I was starting the Paranormal Clergy, I know for a fact who was in it. I know who the clergy was 20 years ago. I was there, and we again, Yahoo groups, people, and I don't know this Bishop Nolan, but people. One thing that I'm really getting a little frustrated with is because there are people who are saying, "Well, I've been in the paranormal for 40 years." No, you weren't. I know exactly when people started because I was there. I've been clergy for, I've been an exorcist and helping the paranormal community for 35. No, you were not. It was me and Father Andrew Caller 20 years ago. That is who it was, period. And I don't care what anyone says. We were there. Talk to the old timers in the paranormal community. We were there. We know who was there and who wasn't. But it just seems like everybody now, "I was there for 50 years. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, sign, give me an autographed copy of the Bible. All right. So it's like, there we go. Okay. By the way, listen to this. This is a very interesting story. Guys, I don't know about this one. The zombie apocalypse. There are many people who say this could happen. Well, listen to this and tell me what you think about this. This is from Anam Alien. It says, a zombie apocalypse may come after a pandemic. So more than a year has passed since the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. The most important lesson that humanity has learned is that society is completely unprepared for a long time to resist viruses. Now, if we imagine not COVID-19, but an edited pathogen genome that can turn a person into a zombie. Now, some people say, oh, that's stupid. Hold on. Recent advances in gene editing suggest that bioterrorists can theoretically create viruses that can alter our behavior, interference with RNA, and as a result, genome alteration is not a fantasy, whether you like it or not. One of the goals of replacing the epidemic with the word pandemic was the establishment of a new world order and supernatural government. Now, Jacques Attali, who's a French economist, a member of the Bilderberg Club, and the first head of the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, and one of the ideologists of globalism, wrote about this decade before the coronavirus was even discovered. The most obvious example of zombification is rabies, which can cause aggression and hallucinations. And when these symptoms appear, it is almost always fatal. So a newly discovered species of wasp, listen to this, a newly discovered species of wasp, by laying eggs on the belly of a certain species of spider, is capable of turning those spiders into zombies. The resulting larvae then attach to the spider, feeding on it, while the spider, once a social animal, leaves the colony and prepares to die alone. Other examples of zombification in nature: African sleeping sickness. So it's a fatal neurological disease caused by insect-borne parasitic unicellular organisms. Now, the fungi, it alters the behavior of the carpenter ants before killing them and sprouting from their heads. Now, last year, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded to Berlin-based French woman Emmanuelle Charpentier and American Jennifer Doudna for developing a method for editing genomes. We need to knock this stuff off. And according to the Nobel Committee, the created CRISPR, CRISPR, Cas9. So you need to look it up. CRISPR Cas9 technology is already being treated and used to treat cancer patients. It has proven itself in the treatment of such genetic diseases like sickle cell anemia and basal cells and others, which is great. Now, known informally as genetic scissors, the development is capable of altering pathogens, making them more transmissible or deadly. In addition, bioterrorists will be able to turn a harmless microbe into an aggressive virus. This technique can even alter the virus to make it dangerous to more species than it currently infects, or to make it resistant to antibiotics or anti-drug. I don't like this. Now, this makes me very uncomfortable. And there are geneticists that absolutely call and say this, given these possibilities, it's not surprising that in 2018, the director of U.S. National Intelligence, James Clapper, called gene editing, quote, of mass destruction and the spread of weapons. In the same year, the U.S. government released its first biosecurity strategy involving multiple government departments. The plan covers not only the deliberate threats of bioterrorism, but also natural outbreaks and infectious diseases that accidentally slip out of the laboratory. By the way, the U.S. Department of Defense's Strategic Command has released a training program called CONOP, CONOP 8888, Counter Zombie Dominance, that simulates a zombie apocalypse situation. Now, I have read online, and I've heard from people saying, "Oh, they were just trying to be silly. They were just trying to scare. It was a joke. It was a joke." Well, not when you spend millions of dollars on this simulation. It's not a joke. So, what are our chances of confronting gene-edible pathogens, you ask? International legal conventions on biological and chemical toxins strictly prohibit states from acquiring or storing biological weapons. True, there is doubt as to how much they correspond in the light of new approaches. So gene editing technologies like CRISPR are getting cheaper and easier to work with. In fact, unscrupulous scientists or organizations can use them for bioterrorism. Ideally, the specific provisions of these international instruments should be revised and adapted to changing conditions. And this could include a moratorium on experimentation with gene editing as a biological weapon, or allowing experiments solely for the benefit of human health. Let me just make this very clear. We can make all kinds of rules and regulations for the United States. Fine, good. But there are bad apples in the world that would love to get their hands on gene-altering bioterrorism weapons. And I really do believe that this could be a very, very serious problem. I truly believe that. A lot of people are thinking, well, that's just crazy. Well, I don't know. I don't know about that. I just, what are you going to do? Now, by the way, for those of you, let's because I really want to get to as many of these as I can, because this is pretty cool. These are really, really cool. I think discussions and stories. But listen to this. And for those of you on TikTok who are offering gifts, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that so very, very much. Thank you. That's very kind of you. And I appreciate that. Thank you. And for those of you who went online, Bishop James Long, to donate, I think there's one or two. Thank you so much for that as well. CND boy, is it okay to have a man crush on Dr. Bishop James Long? All right, there we go. We got a man crush. All right. But listen to this, guys. Listen to this. And Shannon Long 30, are you going to go live on TikTok? If you can just say yes or no, that way I can let folks know about Shannon Long 30 on TikTok. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you like the conversation. So Shannon Long 30, if you're going to just say yep or nope. Where's your sister? Oh, she's not on? Oh, she's not on. Okay. All right, listen to this, guys. NASA chief hopes UFOs are alien ships and not something else. That's a problem. I mean, hello. Well, listen to this. A former American astronaut, Bill Nelson, he's a former astronaut, Bill Nelson, who now holds the post of administrator of the National Aerospace Agency, go NASA, since May of this year, admitted that the unidentified flying objects may be spaceships of representatives of highly developed alien civilizations. Folks, did you just hear what I just said? The administrator and astronaut, Bill Nelson, the administrator of NASA, has just stated that UFOs may be spaceships of representatives of highly developed alien civilizations. It's so interesting how finally the government and even NASA is coming out and talking about, this could be a reality. Well, as head of NASA noted, unidentified aerial phenomena are often observed by American military pilots who are not used to believing in, obviously, something without real evidence. Now, the behavior of UFOs allows us to state that there are no technologies on Earth that could become the basis of such flying vehicles. Simply, it can't happen. We do not have the technology for some of these UFOs. It says, quote, "We do not know what it is, but I really hope that this is not the secret military technology of countries that are geopolitical rivals of the United States." Amen to that. It cannot be denied that the UFOs that we observe may be alien spaceships. Bill Nelson said this, the administrator of NASA. The NASA administrator added that the universe is so large and diverse that there's no doubt that there is another intelligent life in it besides humanity. He says, "My personal opinion is that the universe is so big, and now there are even theories that there might be other universes. If that's the case, who am I to say that planet Earth is the only location of life form that is civilized and organized like ours?" Nelson told Larry Sabato, a professor of politics at University of Virginia. "Are there any planet Earths out there? I certainly think so, because the universe is so big," he said. Now, Nelson also said the Navy pilots have reported over 300 sightings of UFOs since 2004, with neither the military nor NASA knowing what the objects are. Folks, this is the military, for goodness sakes. They know. I mean, they're going to know. That's their job. They know technology. There was one, I believe, there was one UFO that went. I'm seeing if I can see, hold on, let me see if I can find it. No, I don't. I thought I had this, but what the problem was, it went from 36,000 feet to, I think, 50 feet in less than 3 seconds. This object that's impossible. There's no military, nothing. I mean, yeah, even an they were talking F-15 couldn't even do that in multiple, I forgot how many seconds, but it was less. I thought it was like 0.8 seconds. I think that's what I read in the article, 0.8 seconds, going from 35,000 to 50 feet in 0.8 seconds. That's not possible. I mean, that technology is just simply not. We don't have it. And when you see this, boy, I tell you what, that to me makes me think that there's definitely something going on. Definitely something going on. No question about that. Yeah, aliens come here just to laugh at us. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. There are theories that the reason is the aliens have appeared more often is because of the increase of threat of nuclear weapons, and that certainly does make sense. Matter of fact, there have been cases where the nuclear, I think the nuclear power in the United States went off on several. I think I've got how many different sites. I read an article there, so I don't know. It's one of those things. You just, what are you going to do? 50,000. Okay. By the way, listen to this very quickly. A dog was captured playing with a phantom pooch. Another dog on CCTV. Guys, that is great. And I have the picture here. Let me put this up on you guys so you guys can see it. Okay, hold on one second. I'm going to share this with these guys here. And then let me share this with you guys because I'd saved it. And I want you guys to see it too on TikTok. Oh, well, there you go. See that? You can see that it's circled here, and that's the dog, and that is the, well, it keeps going out because it's a green screen, but anyway, you saw that. But listen to this story. Listen to this. It's really, really cool. And it clearly does look like there's something there. And it says a clip of an Australian man's pet dog playing with what he believes to be a ghostly puppy has gone viral, by the way, on TikTok. The footage was caught on Jake DeMarco's home CCTV system, which showed his dog, Ryder, roaming in his Melbourne garden. But the video appears to show an unexpected visitor in the form of a ghostly dog that Ryder interacts and plays with. Now, the 31-second long video shows the phantom dog prancing around, but strangely, the pooch appears to be translucent. Now, when Jack noticed the canine spirit interaction taking place on the live feed of a security camera, he ran outside to only find that Ryder was in the garden alone. Now, while some are convinced that a clip shows the beautiful moment when a lucky dog gets a visit from beyond the grave, others are less convinced and think the clip shows nothing more than a lighter color dog who looks otherworldly in the video due to the camera's night vision. Now, the camera simply doesn't pick up the light dog as well as the darker colored dog because it blends in with the background, which appears lighter in color. It's under the camera's infrared near light. The problem with that theory is there's a lot that we don't know about this clip. Now, for example, could another real and living dog have gotten into Jack's backyard? Now, it's claimed that the gate was locked and that the garden is surrounded by a high fence. We don't even know if Jake really only has one dog. For all we know, there could have been two dogs in the yard that night, and Jake simply noticed that the lighter of the two looked odd on night vision camera. There's also the chance that the lighter colored animal is a fox or a dingo, a golden colored animal in the canine family. It's very common in parts of Australia. However, the owner of the darker dog made it very clear he ran out there when he saw it, and there was no other dog in the backyard. So I don't know. To me, it's interesting. Do I believe things like that can happen? Absolutely, positively, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. No question. But again, if you have a picture, people are going to say, well, I disagree with it or I agree with it. There's always good, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think we can't dismiss something just because we don't understand it. A lot of people do that, and that I think is a little bit of a mistake to do. But I thought it was very cool, and you can decide how you think if you watch the video. Okay, yep. Play the wrap-up video. Absolutely, we'll do. By the way, I'm going to do this very quickly, and I just got my producer saying 3 minutes, Bishop. Okay, listen to this very quickly. The world's first living robots that can now replicate themselves. True story. Scientists have created astonishing new living programmable organisms. A super sophisticated robot capable of self-replication reports UFO sightings hotspot.blogspot.com. Now the Xenobots, Xeno bots, computer designed biorobots were adapted from the frog stem cells and have now been programmed to self-replicate, spawning babies from their Pac-Man-like mouths. These new Xenobots can go out, find cells, build copies of themselves again and again. I don't know about that one. They hope that the self-generating Xenobots could advance personalized drug treatment for cancers, traumatic injuries, birth defects, and other major health issues. But is this the future of modern medicine? Technologist's future, Ian Khan, cautious about the excessive optimism or excitement, blinding us to risk involving the dawning of intelligence. Robots that reproduce themselves aren't giant monsters yet, he said. Again, for those of you who want to check this out, it's Xenobots, Xeno bots. So Xenobots. It's designed by BioRobots. I don't know about folks. Now we're getting into some dangerous territory. I mean, robots are one thing, but now we have these Xenobots that can self-replicate. I think not. I personally don't like it. You did hear the news? Yeah. Kirsha 520. So I heard this on the news. Yeah, that is creepy. You're right. 17 Nick, you said that's creepy. That is creepy. To me, some people love it. Some people love that technology. But here's the problem. Everything that can be used for health reasons, my fear is that it could be turned around for the opposite. I don't know, guys. I don't know. All right, everybody, listen, I want to so thank you so much for being here. I hope that you have enjoyed it. I have enjoyed it, definitely, no doubt about it. And for those of you who are watching on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and through StreamYard, I want to thank you guys for being here. Remember that your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. You're priceless. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And we'll see everybody next Wednesday for Bible study right here. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. May God bless you guys. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.